Good afternoon and welcome to our panel discussion in celebration of Black History Month. My name is Erica Nelson Flowers. I'm the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for USTA Texas. And I'm really excited to have a conversation with 4 members of the Texas tennis community, specifically individuals who are tennis coaches here in our state. And so over the course of this discussion, we hope that you'll learn more about their experiences, hopefully learn more about them as individuals and walk away a little bit more enlightened in celebration of Black History Month. And as I tell our staff and volunteers all the time, it's always the right time to celebrate what makes Texas tennis unique and special in its own right. And so to get us started, I will introduce our first coach, Autumn Wollenzien, and she is the head tennis coach at Texas A&M Kingsville. From Autumn, we will allow our other coaches to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we will jump into some questions. So again, coaches, look forward to our discussion. Hopefully there's some laughter, we have fun, and this ends up being a great discussion. And I know with the panelists that have been selected, it will be. So Autumn, floor is yours.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Autumn Wollenzien. I have been the head tennis coach here at Texas A&M Kingsville since 2014. Before coming to Kingsville, I was the head coach at Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, which is also my alma mater, where I did play Division II tennis. I am originally from Chicago, and that's where I started playing. I started playing within the Love to Serve Tennis Academy, which was started by Lamont Bryant. And he, ran an organization that was huge and mainly with kids from the inner city. I was one of those kids. Got into collegiate coaching because my alma mater asked me to come back and be the coach there. And from there, I figured out that this was my passion and my purpose. I have been involved with coaching probably since, coaching privately since high school, really, honestly. Just the person, Lamont Bryant, really instilled inside of me, a sense of community and a sense of he was a great coach. So he was my example as far as coaching this sport and the involvement in this sport.
Thanks, Autumn. And at the center of my screen, unable to be with us on camera, but certainly he's got a lot to add to this discussion, Ben Monroe. Ben?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Monroe, and I'm been involved with tennis for a lot of years. I actually put it aside early for baseball, and baseball actually benefited me when I went through college. I was a pitcher, and I look back on it and realized that every time I would throw a ball, there was consequences. So I had to learn placement, speed, spin, all those things that you need for serving. So when I got out of college and went back to teaching and got involved in teaching full time, that was something that was pretty natural to think about. I've been a director of tennis. I was in Oklahoma, Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, and Missouri was the Missouri Valley. So I did junior tennis, adult tennis, was director of tennis at a club there, and eventually moved to Kansas City. But I started a son in tennis at 4, and he got to number 1 in the USTA when he was 14. And along the way, I met coaches like Stan Smith, Nick Saviano. And from going to national training camps, I got to be involved and see the roadmap that the USTA laid out pretty much for development of juniors. And so that's what I base my training on, is trying to get players to be all court players and to be visible ranking wise to the USTA eventually. So those are the things that I based everything on. I got to move to Ohio to teach in Ohio for a while, eventually New Jersey, where I was director of tennis and tournament director for our programs there. I eventually moved to New Jersey, from New Jersey back to Texas, because I have 2 sons. Nicholas Monroe,
Ben? We lost you for a sec. Okay, while we're waiting on Ben to jump back in, Teri, we'll move on to you and we'll circle back to Ben if we are able to get him back. So Teri, thank you for being with us in addition to our great other panelists.
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay. Looks like
Is
Ben, are you back?
I'm here.
Okay, we lost you there for about 30 seconds. You were starting to talk about Nick, your son Nick.
Okay. Well, yeah, Nicholas is my son, and I started him at 4 years old, and he was involved in tennis, loved it. And that's how I got to meet the Stan Smiths and Nick Savianos of the world, because through the development program, USTA, they chose top players, and he was able to be involved in the development program with the USTA. But from that, I also got the roadmap that the USTA had in terms of what was required, they thought, for development of skills, shots, and overall program. So that gave me a programming background to base my coaching on. And so that was something good. And along the way, ran into John Wilkerson, of course, and Richard Williams. And of course, they showed the roadmap to become professionals. So all of those coaches have had a big impact on how I think about tennis, how I coach, how I try to develop the best lifetime sport for anybody of any age or gender and level of tennis.
Thank you for that, Ben. Yeah, so it started out coaching your son, and now I know even after Nick's 18-year-long pro career, still in the game. And just for all of our viewers and listeners, amongst our panelists here, we've got almost almost 50 years of coaching experience amongst the four of them. So lots to share as it relates to their time as not only players, but having given back to the game now that they're retired competitively. Teri Saunders.
Hi, everybody. I'm Teri Saunders. I've been coaching now for maybe 10 years. And I got into tennis because my daddy, John Wilkerson, was a professional tennis coach. And because of him, I got to watch some really top-notch tennis just at a young age. I was blessed to see Zena Garrison, Lori McNeil, Katrina Adams, just on the court like it was an everyday thing. So that was awesome. I even got to see Otis growing up as a player. And I even met Ben as a young kid. So back then in the tennis world, if you were Black in tennis, everybody pretty much knew each other. I mean, they were pretty much our coach too. Like if we were at a tournament, they'd give us tips on some strategies and also how to conduct ourselves as tennis players as well, and just give us life lessons. So started off in juniors during USTA tournaments, like most of us, and was ranked number 3 in Texas at one point, and then I got to play Division I at UTEP, and then I also had an opportunity to be on the coaching staff at Prairie View A&M University with the late John Cochran and current tennis coach Dwayne Williams as well. So now I'm coaching high school and I'm loving it. So yeah, I'm glad to be here with you, Erica.
Thanks, Teri. And last but not least, so did Otis have hair back then, Teri? You've seen Otis when he had hair.
He had hair. I mean, he was like,
this is all I know, Otis, is this look.
I have hair every year in the month of November. I don't shave in November.
And he was
Otis.
muscular. Not to say he's not muscular now, but I mean, I just remember him being this like, I mean, he was just the guy. Everybody, he hit hard. I remember him being a power player too, from what I remember, but maybe because I was a kid.
You know, don't act like I'm that much older than you. I am, but.
Otis Sadler, give it to us.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Otis Sadler. Currently, I'm the director of rackets at Lakeside Country Club here in Houston, Texas. I did grow up playing tennis here in the wonderful state of Texas. My parents started me picked it up when they watched Arthur Ashe beat Jimmy Connors in the finals of Wimbledon that year. And so my parents thought it was awesome. They went out, bought some rackets. I was really into soccer and football at the time. So I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll play it, but wasn't really into it. And I picked it up, had fun, actually got hurt playing football. And the doctor said if I take another direct hit, I'd break my neck, be paralyzed for life, or could possibly die. My mother then said, welcome to tennis or music? I said, Dad, and my dad said, what about what your mother said didn't you hear? So that was the end of everything else but tennis for me. Grew up playing junior tennis, trained in the summers in Houston with Teri's dad, John Wilkerson, and Lori and Zena. Played all through juniors. I attended the University of Texas, where I played on the men's team there from 88 to 93. After I got out of school, bummed around a couple other jobs. In 1995, I got hooked up with the USTA, and I was the first multicultural participation coordinator for the USTA Texas section, which is basically Erica's position now, the DEI. I worked there from 1995 to 2000. 2000, I hooked back up with John and Zena. Left the USGA and came to be the program director at the Zena Garrison Tennis Academy here in Houston, Texas. I got to actually see, develop, and touch kids. I loved working at the USGA, but what I was missing was that drive to be a coach took a hold of me. And I wanted to not just visit one time and make a little impact. I wanted to make a lasting impact, much like John did for me. So that I went crazy from there. Was at Zena 2000, 2005, briefly at Westside. Then I was the junior director at the Houston Racquet Club for 8 years. And then I moved over here. So currently I am the director of rackets at Lakeside Country Club, and where I continue teaching juniors, adults, and anybody this wonderful game that has given so much to me.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you to all four of you. So for those of you watching, you'll see that there's some commonalities here. All of them obviously came back to the sport, but certainly with Teri and Autumn, really stepped right into it coming out of college, and Ben learned it, got his son into it at a very early age and coached him all the way up until he got to college tennis, and still continued to coach, and even to this day coaching little kids. And then Otis, I know you've coached from the little ones all the way up to women who are senior citizens, shall we say. But that's what tennis is, right? You can play from 8 to 88, and that's what makes our game so great. So I think one of the pieces that you all hit on a little bit in that first question was around coaches who were impactful to you and what made them special in some respect. And so Autumn, you hinted at that a little bit with your initial answer, but I love, and certainly all four of you don't need to answer, but anyone who wants to really speak about, and Teri, I have an idea who you might be talking about, but who is that one or two influential coaches that really impact who you are as a coach, and what were some of those traits? I think it's important as we think about the coaches who are watching this, and what are some of those traits that maybe they need to focus on as it relates to maybe being impactful coaches to the players that they work with. So does anyone want to jump in? Actually, I'll start with you, Autumn. You spoke about it a little bit, but I'll let you elaborate.
There are several coaches. Well, first of all, let me say tennis wasn't my first choice as far as career move. Upon graduating from Clark Atlanta, I actually went into journalism, and I learned that I hated sitting at a desk, and I wasn't, even though I'm sitting at a desk right now, it wasn't really for me. I didn't get to go outside and play. So now I get to go outside and play. But the first coach who made a huge impact on me was, like I said, my coach growing up, Lamont Bryant. He actually just died in November, and I spoke at his memorial service a couple weeks ago. So he's very much at the top of my brain. But he was the most consistent person I've ever had in my life. And he was there to pick me up from school after school. He taught me several lessons, both on and off the court. And even upon graduating from high school and college, he was somebody that I could call and bounce ideas off of and talk about different things with tennis. And once I really got into coaching, I did it part-time, while I was in college. I did it part-time, even while I was working my journalism job. Tennis has always been the job I never got fired from. So I figured I might as well stick to tennis. But he always had great ideas, and the thing that stuck out to me was he was a constant learner. And as tennis, the game changes, and the sport changes, the strokes change, and things like that. And he was a consistent, constant learner. He always wanted to stay up to date with what was going on, in the world of tennis. So that was one thing I learned from him. And then from other college coaches, knew the previous coach at Prairie View before he died. Him and several other collegiate coaches across the country. When I was in Atlanta, it was Coach Peterson in Atlanta, who had a huge name. I mean, I could go. I mean, from Donald Young's senior to, even Lori McNeil. I met her when I was 14. She probably doesn't remember, but I mean, it just the amount of people who pour into you, in doing this and knowing that how important it is to be able to mold in tennis players, and not just tennis players, but actual people. I think that was the biggest thing that their impact to me, in being able to also impact other people's lives.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in? What are some of those traits? Who is someone that's been an impactful coach in your development, and what traits specifically? And I'm starting a list here that coach or coaches had.
I was going to jump in real quick. And y'all know I'm going to already say my dad, which even though he's retired, even though he's 86, he's still making an impact, not just on me, but kids around. I'll have them come to the tennis courts. Not right now because it's cold, but when it warms up, I will. And he's just all about wanting to continue to make a difference through tennis, because he always relates and parallels tennis with your everyday life, whether it's being consistent on the tennis court and parallels it with being consistent with everything you do in life. Always talking about being positive. I think that's his number one thing. He always talked about being just a positive person on the court and have it correlate with being a positive person in life and having it help you overcome obstacles. And so it's any time he's out, whether we were at the grocery store, he always knows how to make a joke, and you never know what somebody's going through, but somehow everybody pours their whole life story to him in just a few minutes of meeting him. He just has that gift. And I just say one quick story. He took me to the Minute Maid baseball game one time, and we were in line, and there was a homeless person just kind of acting a little unruly. And then once we passed by me and my dad, he straightens up. He's like, "Coach John," and then he kind of straightens himself up and shakes his hand, and it was like he totally fixed himself. And he said, "Coach John, you really made a difference in my life." And my dad gave him some money, and I said, "Dad, do you know him?" He said, "I don't remember him." But it's just amazing how, as a coach, how much of a difference we can make just without even realizing it.
Yeah, great story. That's absolutely true. There are going to be players that some of you student athletes, I'll say for our high school and college coaches, who are going to go and years and decades later, something you said stuck with them and offer some level of inspiration. So Ben or Otis, anything to add on an impactful coach over your career and what it was about them that made them so important to your development?
Well, Erica, Ben, I didn't mean to cut you off. Erica, I'm going to piggyback on what Teri said. Two of the most important coaches in my life were Samuel Wendell Lester, and her dad, John. Sam Lester taught me at 11 years old that tennis was all about fast feet and slow hands. He said, but the problem is most people are too daggum lazy to work hard to make a situation easy, so they want to use fast hands and no feet. So I still use don't cheat on your feet to this day. Cheat on your taxes, don't cheat on your feet. Don't repeat that. I said cheat on your taxes. But anyway, and the other coach is without a doubt John Wilkerson, who I like to call my tennis father. Accountability, responsibility, problem solving. Everything we do in life can associate to tennis. Just like in life, you go through life by yourself. When you're on that tennis court, you're out by yourself. The decisions you make, you have to suffer the consequences. You have to learn how to deal with them, and you have to learn how to cope. So when you make a good decision, you get good feedback. A bad decision, you get bad feedback. But just like in life, if it's bad, you can't lay down. You have to keep fighting. And you have to trust in yourself and find a way to solve your problem. That might have been one of the best lessons I ever learned from John Wilkerson. And I learned a lot. And you're right. Your father never once met a stranger.
Yeah, if you don't know the name John Wilkerson, please look him up. He is a legend in Texas tennis and made a name for himself, certainly internationally around the world, with Zena Garrison and Lori McNeil and many others. But it was certainly an honor the first time I was able to meet your dad, Teri. So we're going to start on this next question with you, Ben. For the coaches who are watching, or those who aspire to be coaches, what do you love so much about this game? Like you said, Autumn, you get to play, and you're not stuck behind a desk all day. And I don't think Otis could survive if he had to be stuck behind that desk all the day. He's got too much energy. So, Ben, what do you love about coaching? It's something obviously outside of Nick's career you've remained dedicated to well after he left home and went off to UNC. What is it that you love most? And then anyone who wants to jump in after Ben can certainly do so.
I think what the number one thing is, you're going to be involved with people, and of all ages. You don't have to be involved with all ages. You can be a specialist, I guess, and just do seniors, or you can just do juniors. But the fun is if you are a person that likes all ages, all levels, you're going to be greatly enhanced. Your life's going to be enhanced by meeting these different people. I tell people all the time, it's like taking a test when you play a match. If you want to do well, you usually study a lot or you study a little. And they say, well, I study a lot. So in terms of training and being involved and getting better, you try to train the best you can. Then you take the test when you go out. So it's interesting to meet kids, parents, and have that interaction with the team. I try to make it a team. I want parents to be at the lessons. I don't force them to be, but when at the end of the day, I haven't had any kids pull out their pocketbook or their credit card and try to pay for a lesson. So we're all a team, and I found out it works a whole lot better to get the team involved if possible. Sometimes parents can't be there, but the joy of trying to teach an all-court game is that you're going to spend some time learning everything. You're not going to learn everything the first day. And if you can get that across to the kids and the parents, it's a process. And so you can be an aggressive baseline player and maybe learn that pretty quickly. But to be an all-court player is like playing chess. If you have all the pieces and someone else just has a row of pawns, you're going to eventually win. So let's take our time. It's like learning math. You learn algebra 1, then algebra 2, algebra 3. So the dynamics of learning those things and working with kids of all ages is incredible. So I've met some really outstanding people along the way. I had 3 girls in Ohio that the dad told me one day, he said, the girls are going to have to quit tennis. I said, what are you talking about? He said, they changed my hours at work. I said, they're not quitting tennis. And he looked at me very strangely. And what I said, what time do they get home? He told me 2:30. I said, well, I'll have my van sitting outside the house, and they're not going to miss tennis. So they didn't miss tennis, and all 3 of them got Division I scholarships. Wow. So you can have these lifelong relationships and things that we do for kids that they'll remember the rest of their lives, but we'll remember because we did what we thought was right.
Wow, that's a great story, Ben. Thank you for having that commitment to these young people. I want to say it was going back to something that Autumn said, was just the commitment to the person. And I think that as coaches, obviously a lot of what they're bringing to the tennis court is related to the experiences and what's going on outside of the tennis court. So thank you for that. So and anyone else who wants to jump in, what do you love most about coaching?
I mean, I think it's the connections to people, and I'm a people person. I don't know if it's kind of loud in my background, but I'm a people person. I think in being a collegiate coach, it's extremely fun to work with the players that I work with. It's extremely fun they keep you young and they keep you moving, and I don't have to play tennis so much as just being around the sport and being around people who are passionate and want to learn and get better and competitively and in all aspects. So just the connections and to the human beings that I'm come across, and I come across those from all across the world. So it's extremely fun. It's extremely frustrating, but it's extremely fun. And I just love that I'm able to help somebody grow and help somebody go from one stage of their life to the next stage of their life.
Love it.
The ability to touch, shape, and mold people's lives.
Mm.
The reason I started just with juniors. That's all I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach a lot of kids that looked like me that I didn't see when I was growing up playing tennis, and to show them the doors that tennis could open up for them. And to see the effect you can have on someone's lives. John told us, you're not going to make the next superstar. It's not going to happen very often. It's maybe once or twice in a lifetime thing. It happened to him twice. But what you can do is you can help shape and mold the next generation, the next people that are go out and see what kind of man or young woman that they're going to become. And if you can help them do that, the reward you get it's incredible. Seeing the kids I teach now, one of them, a doctor, came back, and to this day he remembers my birthday. Chris comes, gives me a hug. Saw a young lady that I used to teach. She's now a mother of two and a doctor. Mm. So to know that you help touch and shape that life, that makes this worthwhile. Like Autumn, like you said, we could be doing stuff making a whole bunch more money, but I don't know what I could be doing that gives me as much gratitude and makes me feel as good.
Mm. Wow. Teri, if you had an answer for this one, I'd love to hear a little bit of that. And then I want to start on the next question with you. So if you can kind of slide in this question into your answer. I'm sure you're going to want to speak about what you love about coaching, because you just can't get away from it. You've grown up in the sport. So in addition to what you love about the sport, Teri, can you just share with us some thoughts that you have? And this question applies to our other panelists as well. What can we do? So across the United States, we have we don't have enough coaches. We have a lack of coaches across the country. We certainly don't have enough women coaches, and we definitely don't have enough coaches of color. So specifically as it relates to people of color, what can we do to draw more people of color into coaching tennis? So please begin if you have anything you want to share about what you love, and then I'd love your thoughts on the second part of that question as well.
Yeah, everybody kind of said everything about why we love coaching, but I also want to just add real quick that as much as we're teaching and pouring athletes and students, I feel like they're pouring just as much into me. I feel that same reciprocation, and a lot of times I feel like I'm learning a lot more about myself as well when I'm coaching. So I'm always just grateful for my players, and I always try to make sure they understand that. And then as far as having a lack of, are you saying a lack of Black coaches specifically, or just any coaches in general?
Coaches of color, yeah.
Coaches of color. Okay, so I grew up not even realizing we had a lack of coaches of color. Saw that was around, and a lot of times I think a lot of the coaches were volunteering their time. I don't even know if they were getting paid to do what they were doing, because it was coaching at the same time as just being a parent, it seemed. So nowadays with how economics are, I'm not sure if folks are able to be able to volunteer their time the way that it seems like they used to be able to. Also, it seems like we're not as a tight community as well. Right now, it just seems like if you go to a tournament, if I see a person of color, I'll, try to talk to them. They might look at me like I'm crazy, like, what's this stranger danger talking to me? So, or I don't need tips from you. Who are you? Like, I have to share my credentials. So I think it might be, economic, be sense of community. But I think the more that we have these conversations that you're leading, Erica, and the more we share how much of a love it is and how much of a benefit it is, not just for you know, where we are at, but for the whole community, I think that we might be able to get some numbers up. So yeah, I want to thank you again, Erica, for always having putting this platform out there. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I want to add on to what Teri said. I think also knowing that it's not about your level of play, but it's more about your vision and your desire to learn and want to teach others of getting into the sport. And the more people they see in the sport coaching, I think is one of those things of if you can see it, you can be it. And I didn't see very many women coaches growing up, and so which is important to me. And I think that it's important to see those coaches out there coaching.
Representation matters. I just wrote that down, Autumn. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? What do we need to do to get more coaches of color in tennis?
I'd approach it a different way. Not that this way is not great. We'll get more coaches of color once we see more children of color playing. You grow through it. I came to coaching by coming up through playing. The more people of color we get playing our sport, that will transfer into the more people of color coaching our sport. So I feel growing our sport with the juniors, with introducing new players to the sport of tennis, that's going to be our future group of coaches. So both ways, but the more of us that are more people of color that are seen out there playing, it's going to produce more coaches later on. People like myself, people like Teri, people like Autumn, who grew to love this, saw that what it did for us and what it could do for other people that look like us led us into coaching.
Well said. Well said. We're going to go finish off with one last question. Rapid fire, 15, 20 seconds each. Black History Month, what does it mean to you? And we're going to go in reverse order from what I see on my screen. Ben, we're going to go with you, Teri, Autumn, and Otis. You're going to finish us up. So Ben, real quick, what does Black History Month mean to you, sir?
Well, we need to pay tribute and celebrate and honor the legacy of everyone that has been a pioneer in the sport. I mean, we've had wonderful people out there, from Arthur Ashe, John Wilkinson, Zena Laurie, Shonda Rubin, Katrina, Malavea. But a lot of times nobody knows about the people because they've moved on, they're doing different things. But we need to celebrate it so we can bring these names back up to, people know the current list of names, whether Serena, Coco, Madison, all that stuff. But Black History Month means we need to step back and bring back all the names back up so we can start telling our young kids about this, telling the parents about it, because there's more of a legacy than just today. We're a now generation, and we want stuff to happen right now. But the history of Black tennis is important, and we need to share that and bring that up to speed and bring it up to light to everyone that we're talking to.
Love it. So celebrate our history is what I'm hearing from you. Teri.
Well, same thing, just celebrating the contributions, even the struggles and the resilience of Black people. And there's so many stories that are not even told. A lot of people don't even know my dad grew up having to pick cotton. He grew up during the Jim Crow era. Both my parents had to go to segregated schools. So to see, a lot of people just see the successes or the contributions, but sometimes they may not see what it took to get there. And that in turn gives us inspiration. It gives us powered. And then it also helps the next generations as well. So Black History Month, yeah, I'm all for it. I love it. And for it coming next month.
Thank you, Teri. Autumn.
One is we don't know where we're going unless we know where we've been. So it's really important to history tells us can actually tell us what the future looks like. So and we don't want to repeat things that from the past. So it's really important to have a good foundation and it teaches you who you are, you know, where you came from, and you know why you are where you are. And so I think it's, I mean, it's Black. I'm from Chicago, so Black History Month was every day. So I mean, it's just one of those things that it has to be a part, and it's American history. It's not just Black history; it's American history, and it has to be a part of, you know, the things that we do every day.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, it's always the right time to celebrate Black history, American history. It all makes it, it all contributes to the fabric of who we are as a country. Otis, finish us off. What does Black History Month mean to you, my friend?
Black History Month means to me, it gives everyone an opportunity to see the things that we have brought forth to this country and to this world. We don't, we need more than a month, and I'm glad we do have a month, but we learn things. It gives us a chance to learn things we don't learn in school. It depends on where you went to school, but we learn of the contributions that people that look like us made, that we are not credited for all too often, that have been forgotten. This is a chance to emphasize our contributions to this world, to this country, and to the things that we have contributed that we too oftentimes were not credited for. So it's a time to look back and reflect, as Autumn said, so we know where we're going and we don't make the mistakes that we made when we got here, on the way here.
100%. I couldn't have said it any better than the four of you did. So thank you so much for making the time. I could have picked a lot of people to be a part of this. And again, growing that number of folks who look like our panelists here is one of the goals. So not only am I working to grow those players, as Otis said, who can hopefully become the next level of coaches, but I'm also working to support our leadership and folks outside the court who are making the decisions about what's happening on the court. So very grateful to Autumn and Ben and Teri and Otis for joining us today. If you don't know their names, viewers and listeners to this, please Google them. Teri and Autumn are about to be in season now, so good luck to both of you ladies.
Let's go.
I gotta
Into
head out my high
the
school.
spring
luck.
season.
Lots
And
Good luck.
thank everyone so much for joining us. Happy Black History Month.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having
everybody.
me.
Thank you.
All right.
Enjoy, be safe. See you on
And
the
y'all
court.
can
Thank you
stay
to
on. I'm just
everyone.
gonna stop recording. Okay. All right. Thank y'all so much. Okay, the recording is stopping.